Someone needs to take control of this. I'd like Peter to go back to Canberra with Jacinta, bipartisanship, to sit down with the Prime Minister and for Linda Burnley, because this needs sorting out. We can't wait any longer. We can't wait for generational change. We've got kids hurting, we've got women being bashed, we've got men with severe alcohol problems. They've been forgotten too. We've got to change this immediately. We've got to save lives because people can't wait any longer. So I'd like to really thank Peter for coming up. I'd like him to go away and use the experience here. It's wonderful, and I'm very thankful that he's actually walking the streets. He walked the streets today. And that's what you've got to do as a leader. You've got to walk the streets and you've got to talk to the people and you've got to hear the truth. I'll try and put the truth out there. No one wants to listen. So, mate, I thank you very much for coming up. I know the people of Alice will. Over to you.
Thanks, Darren. I'm really pleased that we have our opposition leader, Peter Dutton, here today in my hometown of Alice Springs. He's learned a lot. We've learned a lot. Well, I know what's been going on the ground within my own home community. The fact that as a local resident myself, I'm very concerned about going out late at night. One of my sons works at the cinema. It's scary to think that to try and pick him up at the end of his shift, you know, you've got to keep an eye out for any potential, a stolen car coming through a red light. You're checking both ways. You're making sure that you feel safe, that you want your own children to be safe. And my sons, some of them are now in their early 20s, and to be concerned for their welfare even late at night is huge in the hometown that I grew up in, and the amount of children that are on our streets. We've been calling now for the Territory Government, certainly for the Federal Government, to do more to actually create some effective change around the safety of Indigenous children who are on the streets, who are left in dysfunctional circumstances. They're on our streets because a lot of those kids have been in the foster care system, have been under the responsibility of Territory families, and through that their human rights haven't been upheld. They've been left in dysfunctional circumstances or removed from healthy foster families and put back into dysfunction because apparently it's their culture that's more important to them than their actual human rights. These children need to be protected from a young age. We did meet a woman today who has a foster child in her care, who she fought the system so that child would not be removed from her care, and that child is now thriving. And that's all we want for the children that we're seeing on our streets. There needs to be investment in alcohol and drug rehabilitation. There needs to be, our police need to be able to have the power to deal with the circumstances that they're confronted with. You know, we hear from Darren all the time. Darren's Facebook page, we're seeing what's going on the streets, that we locals know what is happening. Peter is here for another visit because apparently the last time when he went back to Albanese to suggest what needs to happen in this town, nothing's happened as a result. I've been fighting for Yipperinya School to be funded so that they can build their accommodation for staff and students, which is actually about putting those kids that are running around on our streets at night who are in vulnerable homes, they're from the town camps, putting them in accommodation that's education focused with adults that actually do care for their well-being. This is long overdue. This was a commitment that we had made as a coalition going to the last federal government. You know, this government, the Albanese government, can spend millions of dollars on what they claim is going to solve all these issues, while the issues continue on. Millions of dollars, and yet they cannot put $8.3 million into a school which takes care of vulnerable Indigenous kids in my hometown. It's simple. Invest the money where it's going to work. Don't drag it out. Don't pretend like you have the answer to everything, but we require a bloody referendum for that answer to appear. That's not the solution. Locals know what the solutions are. I've listened to them. Darren's one of these locals. Peter's been listening. It's time for the Albanese government to step up and to listen. It's time for the Files government to actually step up and listen.